you need to look at the context, the bigger picture of the market
That
to determine if that setup
wow.
works or not.
That is such an interesting. That is wow. Thank you. I am actually going to steal that and put it on Twitter in just a minute because
No
there's
worries.
a
Go
lot
ahead.
more value to context than there is to setup. It's really, really true. I mean, certainly challenge number 2, Miki. We've had you on hold for a while there. How are you, my friend?
No problem. I'm getting some free education from Etienne
Yeah,
right now. So
me too.
merci
Me
beaucoup.
too. Me too. That's what I'm trying to extract all his tricks of the trade. But the challenge number 2 is the question is, what should every trader know, and how would you apply it to your next trade? Like, sort of, what is the one really central idea of trading that everybody needs to absorb? What do you think that would be, according to you?
Well, in my opinion, I think traders need to know when to realize a loss and realize their profits as well. Because I've seen a lot of people just blow up their accounts, their trading accounts, because they're in a loss and they think it's going to reverse, and they don't have a stop loss. You need to use proper risk management, use a stop
Yeah.
loss, and know when to get out of your trade, and also know when to take your profits. Because I've seen a lot of people get crazy gains, but they never realize their profits, and then they just lose all their gains, and it ends up in turning into a loss actually.
So the two coins, two sides of the same coin, actually. Couldn't agree more with you about the idea of realizing loss. I would say that's literally the single biggest mistake everybody makes.
Yeah.
We all make it. Like, we've all blown up accounts because we weren't willing to realize the loss. And there's so many different gradations of that. It's, sometimes it's just realizing a partial loss. I had a trade yesterday, and I made this terrible mistake I sometimes do of, like, I should never trade the last hour of the market, because I'm sure you guys know, the last hour of the market can be just a one-way trade, and I'm always a fade trader, I mean reversal trader. And if you get stuck with like a one-way trade at the end of the market, you then have to gap between Asia and New York, and you're basically holding positions, vulnerable to gap, and it puts you in a very, very weak position. You don't have a chance for bounces because Asia becomes a whole new narrative, new story. And so my rule is to never get involved from 1,500 hours onward in New York. But of course I did, and I started carrying it, and the trade was like mildly, it was sometimes profitable, sometimes not, and eventually went to just a little bit, not even, it went to about half loss. And I did something which was, I consider myself a growing experience for me. I took the half loss instead of staying stubbornly waiting for the full win. And that worked out really actually well, because, afterwards it was just a disaster. And so in other words, it's maybe I gave up like half a day's worth of profits, and I'm going to have to work harder today, but it's going to be, I have to work less hard today than if I was stubborn and waited for a full loss. And I think that's just such a typical thing that most everybody does, which is the inability to take even the small loss, which is actually a much easier thing to do in the long run than a big loss.
Again, that's like, you just need to know when to walk away so you can trade another day, right? Because if you don't walk away, you're gonna blow it up, and then you'll never be able to trade.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, also, leaving emotions out of a trade is extremely important as well.
So. Yeah, well, that's impossible, but at least recognizing that you have the emotions is a good start. Now, the second thing you mentioned, which I think is interesting, is leaving money on the table. Like, so, people get greedy. So one is fear, and people are just afraid to take a loss. And the other one is, of course, greed. They're just too greedy. They want it all. How do you combat that? How do you combat the idea of, like, how do you make sure that you take at least, some profit off the trade? What is your usual process?
Again, yeah. So, like, I would set my take profit, and then my take profit is my rules, right? And you have to follow your rules. So once we hit our take profit area, I'll probably take half off the table. And if the trade keeps going, it keeps running up, then we leave it the rest on. But again, if it doesn't, then we'll close out at a lower level, and I'm okay with that, because that's the rules that I operate on. So if you follow your rules, you should be okay.
What kind of an R do you trade with usually? Is it a 1-to-1 R? Is it 2-to-1? What's your the first take profit level? Is that at 1 R? Where do you?
Usually, like, I don't know. Let's say it all depends on the trade and what I'm trading right now. So I don't know. So I knew I entered a trade the other day on a Bitcoin right here. We longed at the. I don't know if you can see my screen right now.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, okay, so
you always have the best charts, Miki. Yes.
yeah, they're the craziest because that's just how I do my charts. But again, entered the long here, and it was crazy because we had this huge green candle, and my first take profit area was this white line right here, which is this major resistance line, as we can see, basically a channel right now. And once we hit that, I had hit my take profit again. Where I knew we had a little bit more resistance coming in at 48,130. From there on, you could take some more off the table, but so again, if we do blow past this, we would probably go to 49 to 52,000. Then that would be my second take profit area.
And given the assumption that it's always organic to the chart, meaning that you're always going to have organic stops and targets because of where the chart is showing you. Still, like this in this particular trade, what was your risk on the trade, and what was your first target? Was it like a 1-to-1 risk, or were you risking actually a little bit more because organically the you really weren't wrong until like a much larger stop?
So since we were at resistance, it was quite a risky trade here, and we had a big chance of breaking down. But I was just looking at what was going on the into the markets. I could see a lot of buy orders piling up, and so eventually I caved in and entered my long two there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, got it.
You can see a lot of on-chain metrics with Bitcoin with all the other exchanges. I don't know if you know that.
No, but I guess what I'm asking is, what price did you enter? What price was your stop? What price was your first target?
Oh, where was my stop? My stop was really tight on this one because in crypto you could utilize a lot of leverage too. So I had my stop basically at like 5% loss right there on that trade, and my take profit was all the way up here, which we did hit. We did hit. So
okay,
that was my take profit.
This was like a 3-to-1, 4-to-1 kind of a risk reward ratio.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. What about you, Etienne? On your risk rewards, how are your risk rewards usually structured?
I usually always have a take profit at 1-to-1, so that's where I look at my profits first. So I would take out half the trades there. Then I usually let the other trade run until further, either like when the trend stops. So I kind of like trail my stop loss, or I just look for like a 3-to-1 or something similar.
Got it. Now you've interviewed a million traders, some of the best traders in the world. You have like Desire to Trade is of course a mainstay podcast, and everybody who's listening should absolutely listen to Desire to Trade. It's one of the best trading podcasts out there. So you certainly had a lot of very interesting people on your show. What if I were to say, what is the one thing that every trader should know that you can take away from all of your interviews? What's the one takeaway that you took away that the really successful traders did consistently? What would be that tip that you would give people?
Yeah, it's a tough question because like there's so many tips, so many people who said different things.
I know.
But one thing that come up kind of all the time, you always hear this like same sentence that took me a long time to understand, is like you need to be able to adapt to the market. You need to be able to adapt to how the market changes, how the market behaves. That's a big thing. For me personally, it was about understanding like that there's a lot more value in the context over the setup. Like you can look at like a perfect setup with like the RSI or whichever indicator you want.
Wow.
But in the context, it means nothing. So you need to look at the context, the bigger picture of the market to determine if that setup works or not.
That is such an interesting. That is wow. Thank you. I am actually going to steal that and put it on Twitter in just a minute because there's a lot more value to context than there is to setup. It's really, really true. I mean, it's certainly true in my own chat room where we've started out with my original methodology being completely counter trend. In other words, we just buy lows, sell highs, and as context developed, as we got richer and richer, more deeper information about what we're doing, it really completely changed into both a continuation. We now actually buy highs, and we don't ever sell lows unless I'm super bearish on the instrument. But like we generally, on upside biased instruments like Bitcoin and S&Ps and Nasdaq, we will buy highs now, which is so counter, and that's all, like you said, derived from context. That the same setup that we had in a different context gave us completely different view of how the markets behaved, and that's so true. It's really fascinating. So, having that said, we're kind of running out of time, so I want to get you guys into challenge number 2. Given the context of what you're seeing, what's the trade you want to make right now across any asset? FX, crypto, indices. commodities, what do you like out there? Where's the strongest context for your setup? Let's ask you this way: where's the strongest context for your setup today?
Okay.
I'm not so sure about this one, but I think I'm gonna go long Ethereum in that case. It looks scary on like a daily chart and a bigger picture.
Okay, maybe we
but
can
on a
let's take
forward
look at
chart.
your chart. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, that's a. Let me just go back on the daily. Yeah.
By the way,
it kind of looks like.
sorry, before you start, what I find very interesting, you have this tripartite view, which is a 5-4 daily. Is that your
Actually, it's usually, so this is the 5 I was looking at, but it's usually for myself daily, then forward, then 1 hour. So
Okay,
this one will be a 1 hour usually.
Okay, got it. So it's hourly fours and dailies that gives you your view. What is and sorry, is that some kind of proprietary blue triangles over there?
No, I showed that before here on the battle. It's basically they set up with the Bollinger Band. It's basically an engulfing candle with the break of the Bollinger Band that I look at. So when we get to the top of the line,
in this case, you have that as an indicator without the Bollinger Band. In other words,
so I can have the Bollinger Band or not.
Right,
I take it off. Sometimes I have it. Depends, but it's the same thing. Yeah.
Right. It's programmed, but like you don't need to see the Bollinger Bands because you want a clean chart, and then you can.
Yeah, it makes the chart cleaner. Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Super interesting. Okay, so ETH.
Yeah.
You're looking at ETH now. What do you think? About ETH?
So in that case, I would go long. Well, because we're coming back to a support here that was a resistance in the past.
Right.
3,300 or so, and I would like to go long here. Not for like a big target necessarily. I'm just going to target the high here at 3,500. And I'll just go for that. So kind of a short profit, a quick profit. But I think in these circumstances, it's pretty much all you can get.
So in this particular case, basically, this is sort of example of good idea of context versus setup. The setup looks a little bearish, maybe on the short-term basis. But from a context point of view, you're actually seeing, we had a breakout move. This is a retrace into a support zone. I'm going to bet on the fact that this is support zone and I'm going to bounce, and that the bigger trend from 2,500 is the one that's going to matter. That ETH is going to recover back to highs.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Okay, super.